All right, we are live now, so we'll go ahead and right at 6 o'clock, I'll go ahead and hit that record button and we'll be ready to roll.
Okay, Waka. It is 6 o'clock on January 21, 2021. We would like to welcome you on behalf of ASD Title VI Indian Education. And here is the agenda. But before we go into your NAC business, we would like to do our formal land acknowledgement and have introductions for everybody who is in attendance. And so I'll go to the next slide.
Good evening, everybody. I'll go ahead and do the land acknowledgement and then pass back to Crystalline for the start of introductions. We would like to recognize that the Dena'ina people have lived, hunted, gathered within the Cook Inlet region for thousands of years. We thank the Dena'ina people for their stewardship of the lands, water, and air, and all the life that sustains us within their traditional lands. We respect the Dena'ina cultural ways and their homeland and shall strive to be good neighbors.
Liana, Cheryl, and we'll go ahead and do our welcome and introductions for everyone who is in attendance. And we'll start with our Native Advisory Committee, Chairwoman Kimberly Santagata.
Hello, I'm Kimberly Santagata, mother of 4 girls, 3 that attend ASD and 1 that will next year. They go to Polaris. We're part of Nupiat. And all 4 girls have gone through the Cook Inlet Native Head Start program here in town.
Wanga Ayayarak, I'm Shannon Hawkins. Our family's from Nomwas, Little Diamond, and I am the guardian for Angela, who will be introducing herself here in a minute.
So it looks like Tanya is not here. So Shanta?
Hello, my name is Shanta Losi. My daughter is a 4th grader at Rogers Park, highly gifted program, Standing Rock, Lakota, and also a family medicine physician.
Okay, we'll jump down to Jocelyn.
Hello, I'm Jocelyn Raimi. I am a parent of 3, and I have 2 that are in school here at Anchorage. One with Highland Academy and a 1st grader at College Gate Elementary. And another one I'm trying to get into Head Start. Just turned 4 years old. And I'm also a registered nurse at ANMC. And we are Yupik, Aleut, and Inupiaq.
Wanga Ajguana. Hi, my name is Angelica Cordinelli. I am a senior at Service High School. My family is from Nome Wales, Little Diamond. And I'm happy to be here.
Liana. Nishay is not here tonight. Elena.
Hi there. My name is Elena Curtis. I am a senior at Service, and I am UPIC.
Liana. Let's see, is Brian here? I do not see him. Miss Starr.
My name is Georgiana Starr. I am originally from Scammon Bay. I teach 4th grade at Native Charter School. And I have been here in Anchorage since 2010. But I got my start with LKSD. I started teaching out in the village, Kasigluk, in 1999. And then the bulk of my time was in Bethel. I taught reading and math at Ayapulnat Navik Yupik Immersion for 9 years. So like being in Anchorage, and I enjoyed being here. Thank you.
Liana, Ricky.
Good evening. It's Ricky Lind. Gulachuk is my Yupik name, and I've been here in ASD since 2015. Originally from Dillingham. I taught out there for, I don't remember, from 2008 until 2014.
Liana, we should put everyone's native names on here next time. Director Brown, are you there?
Hello, yes I am. So I'm Dorian Brown. I'm the Senior Director for Title VI Indian Education and Migrant Education, but more importantly, I am a mother of 2 children. I have a 24-year-old and a 14-year-old. My 14-year-old is currently attending ROMIG. I'm also an ASD graduate. And then my mom is originally from Nepamut, which is on the Kuskokwim River, and my father is from Washington, the state of Washington. And one day, in the future, I'll tell you the great love story of how I came to be, and my sister as well. But that's another day. Thanks everyone for attending.
Liana, Doreen, and thanks for leading us through this entire year so far. So thank you. Welcome. My name is Crystal, and this is Scott. I'm Yupik Yupinwa from Mamtalitak, Bethel, and I am new to this position, and I'm loving working with students and staff. But most importantly, again, my son Yakuk is in 3rd grade, and I just discovered that he did a really good 1-foot high kick, and he has those legs to do so. So I'm proud to report that. Thank you.
I guess I'm next. I'm Julianne Bourdon, the administrative assistant. I have one son, a graduate of Service 2 years ago. Right now he's currently down in Montana playing hockey, and my husband and I get to travel down in a couple of weeks to watch him finally play. Last year we couldn't watch him play because he got hurt, ended up having to have surgery. My husband's family's from Nome and Wales. So.
Hello, everyone. My name is Cheryl Sherman. I'm the Cultural Enrichment Specialist for Title VI. I am on Athabaskan from the Copper River area. I am also a mom. I was trying to count how many kids I have in the district right now. We've got 5 kids in the district at 4 different schools. So my number is decreasing. I've been in this position just over a year. And prior to that, I was the youth development tutor at Tyson Elementary.
Liana, Cheryl, and we have 3 guests that will be joining us this evening to present to you. And we'll start with Director Brandon Locke. If you would give your introduction.
Sure, thank you. And thanks for the invite tonight. My name is Brandon Locke, and I am the Director of World Language and Immersion Programs for the Anchorage School District. And so I have an amazing job where I get to oversee all of the various language programs that we have to offer at kindergarten through 12th grade level. Approximately 8,000 students in ASD are enrolled in one of our language programs. And I'm super, super excited about the fact that we have our UPIC program, and that's what Crystalline has invited myself and Katie to talk about a little bit later. So I'll pause there, I guess.
Oyana, Katie, would you please introduce yourself?
I was needed. I'm Katie Tunuchuk. I am the second grade Yuchtun teacher at College Gate Elementary this year, and also the program coordinator for the UPIC Immersion Program. I am from Shafornik. I have been teaching since 2006. Before I was the UPIC teacher, or before I was the second grade Yuchtun teacher at College Gate, I was the UPIC teacher at the charter school, I think for 7 years.
Oyana, thank you. And we look forward to hearing from you about the UPIC grant and how things are going. And last but not least, and I apologize sincerely, Angela, for misspelling your last name, but Angela Harvickson.
Too funny, I didn't even notice. Angela Harvickson, I'm an Indian education counselor at East High School. I born and raised in Anchorage, graduated from East. Then I went to college, and the second I graduated from college, I went back to East. And so I've been there 19 years. As the Indian education counselor, as one of many, and one of, I do work very closely with a second Indian ed counselor, Ralph Eluk. And I'm excited to share with you about our grant and its the project and how it's going. Thanks for inviting me.
Well,
Thank you.
It's been 19 years.
I know, Shannon. You should believe it. I think you were there when I started.
I was. Yee.
Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pull up. I don't know why that didn't pull up right away, but I was going to go ahead and pull up the agenda for the NAC to move and approve. I know that is and was provided in some documents, but let me go ahead and pull that up for you. Okay. Chairwoman Kimberly.
So I call to order the January 21st, 2021 meeting of the Native Advisory Council for Title VI Indian Education at ASD at 6:12 p.m. Juliana, can you do roll call, please?
Yes. Shannon.
Here.
Tanya. Shanda. Kimberly.
Here.
Megan. Ricky.
Here.
Angela.
Here.
Nishay is absent. She emailed me and said she's sick today, not feeling well. Elena.
Here.
Brian. Georgina.
Here.
Jocelyn.
Here.
We
And
have
this is Shanda. I'm here. I'm sorry I couldn't get to the mute fast enough.
Oh, that's okay. We have 8 present.
And we need a majority. How many total do we have?
We have 12, so we have the majority.
Yep, we have a quorum. Can we entertain a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved. This is Shanda.
This is Ricky. I'll second.
Is there any discussion on the agenda by anybody? Seeing and hearing none, I call for a vote. All those that approve, please vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Yay.
Any that disapprove? It is passed that we have the agenda. Can I entertain I just lost the word.
Shannon Hawkins makes a motion to approve November 19 meeting minutes.
This is Georgiana. I second.
Is there any discussion on the meeting minutes of November 19th, 2020? Seeing and hearing none, I call for a vote. All those that approve, please vote now.
Aye.
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 All those that don't approve? And that passes. So I'll hand it over to Brandon Locke and Kitty Tanachuk for the project. I can't pronounce that. Expanding our Yupik Circle.
Thank you very much, Kimberly. I'm hoping that maybe Crystalline or Katie can properly pronounce the title of the grant project. Anyone?
Miss Chinuchik?
Yeah, it's Angelica Cordinelli.
Thank you, Katie. So again, good evening, everybody. And again, thank you for the invitation to speak to you tonight. I recognize many of you, and I have spoken at the NAC in past years. This, of course, is my first time doing it via Zoom, and I'm sure you all as well, or maybe not. So I just want to I know that we have just a little bit of time, but I wanted to just share that the grant that we first received back in 2018 was the very first time that the U.S. Department of Ed, Office of Indian Education had this grant offering, and it's called the Native American Language Grant, or Now at Ed. And ASD was one of 40 institutions that applied, and we were one of 5 nationwide that were approved. 2 were in Alaska, us and 1 other, and then there were 3 in the lower 48. And that grant was for 3 years, and it was about $1.3 million to launch a Yupik immersion program. So we followed the similar model that we had success with our other immersion programs, Japanese, German, Spanish, for example. And we were super, super proud and pleased of the fact that, and we also had, partnership, of course, with the Yupik immersion program in Bethel. But our program is one of the very first Indigenous language immersion programs in a public urban school system. And we're really pleased and proud of that. That grant expired September 30th of 2020. And at the time, we weren't sure if the NOW project would continue being funded through Congress. It was, and they had planned on expanding it to other languages and making it a little bit more diverse in terms of Alaska Native and American Indian language offerings. We wrote a second grant, and we were funded yet again. This one was, again, for a 3-year period for roughly $900,000. And the plan is that we will continue, what we will use this funding for is for funding grades 3, 4, and 5. So that would put us, hopefully we'll get a third grant and we'll finish off elementary and then move right into the middle school. Our plan is to continue a K-12 program like we do have in our other immersion programs. One of the unique things about this new grant that we have is that we have expanded our community partnerships, and we are working with several language immersion specialists as well as local talent and elders to develop a series, and this is going to happen, it has not started yet, develop a series of family engagement activities for parents, but family members as well, to build upon the let's see here what the exact wording is. I don't want to misspeak. Series of family engagement workshops for parents and family members, as well as offering Yupik language classes through UAA's program. That was one thing that we heard loud and clear from the parents of the students was, we'd like to be able to learn some Yupik as well. And our program was designed specifically for the children, and our teachers are busy teaching the children. They don't have time to teach the parents as well. So that's why we built this into the grant for the second time around. As well as some expansion of the professional development opportunities. We are going to go and visit a very successful Ojibwe immersion program in northern Wisconsin. In our first grant, we visited Hilo, Hawaii, and saw an amazing program there. And I think those are the main things. Again, we're just expanding the program and continuing it with our upper grades. And as Katie mentioned in her introduction, she currently is the classroom teacher for the second grade. However, she's been the program coordinator since the beginning and will resume that role at the end of this school year as we move forward into the rest of the grant implementation. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Katie to talk a little bit more about some of the cultural things that we've built into the grant and what they're doing right now. And of course, I'll preface that by saying a lot of things have been put on hold or paused temporarily because of COVID and because the kindergarten, first and second grade teachers are all teaching Yupik online, right? Learning a second language through an immersion model online is not ideal. It is very challenging. And so really that has been their focus. Katie?
Well, yesterday was our first day of in-person learning. I have never been more exhausted in my life. It was super stressful yesterday, but today was a lot better. So some of the cultural things that we put into this grant, with things that we can do in Anchorage, like our berry picking field trip that we started, I think last year. We went in August and we had plans again to go this year, but of course with COVID, none of that stuff has happened. Other things that we have put into the grant are continuing our EWOC program, getting more drums, more regalia. I can't remember exactly everything else, Brandon, that we had talked about for the cultural stuff. But I know we have some partnerships with some different places that'll happen probably next year.
One of the things that we noticed is, when you write a grant, you have to put together your entire proposal, a 3-year proposal, and ask for funding. And we asked for what we thought we needed at the time. But then when we had the magic of the learning happening in the classroom with the teachers that we have, it just sparked all these different ideas. And so we didn't have funding for certain things because we didn't propose them. And so this time around, we made sure that we were able to put some of those field trip pieces into the grant, as well as the arts and crafts and other cultural pieces, the dance group, for example. And as I mentioned, partnerships, we have partnerships with the Native Heritage Center. We established an official partnership between the Native Charter School and College Gate. And then, of course, we're continuing our expansion and partnerships with Claire Swan Early Learning Center and Native Head Start. And then other entities like Lower Kuskokwim School District. And I'm sure that there are others that I'm forgetting. Sorry, Katie, I just wanted to follow up on the funding piece and the cultural activities.
All of that stuff. My head is what I'm going to be doing tomorrow with my students and next week. So we've had our numbers have fluctuated a little, but since the pandemic. When school started in August, I think we had close to maybe close to 65 students, 70 students, somewhere around there. Our largest group is our first graders. We have 22 first graders, 19 kindergartners, and 18 second graders as of today. I heard at the end of the day that we might be getting a few more students. So I think after a couple of weeks, we might get some of our old students back. So I guess it depends on how well everything goes with all the COVID and stuff like that.
And I'll just add one more thing to that, which is that district-wide enrollment is down, and immersion programs at the K-6 level are down as well. So if I take the population of all of our elementary immersion kids, we're about 200 less than we would normally have. And when the district went online with options such as ASD virtual, well, that's a canned, packaged curriculum that already existed. That doesn't exist in Yupik or in Japanese or in Spanish. And so we lost students because of that, but we also made the concession and the statement that any student that was admitted to the program, this is for any of our immersion programs, if they were admitted to the program and they chose, or their parents chose, to maybe pause or stop for the year and just take a break and do at-home stuff, that they would not lose their spot, that they would not have to lauder back in, and that they would just resume and pick up where we left off next fall. And I do anticipate, as Katie mentioned, when people start to feel more comfortable sending their children to school, word is going to get out. And I believe, parents sign up for a 13-year commitment typically with immersion. And so I'm pretty confident that we're going to get our numbers back. And the nice thing about Yupik is that we have students that are maybe heritage speakers or have some language skill already. And that is a huge help for Yupik, because typically we don't take students after the first semester of first grade if they don't have any language experience, because otherwise they're not successful in accessing the content. I think I've probably spoken too much, Crystalline. I'm good unless there are any questions.
Oh, this would be a great time to open up if anybody has questions for Brandon and Katie about the Yupik program.
I had a question about, sorry, Ricky, about enrollment. You said, Brandon, that our enrollment is down about 200. Is that specifically just for immersion programs and ASD altogether? And I'm also wondering if anyone knows, enrollment dropping for Alaska Native American Indian population within ASD. Wonder if it stayed equivalent or if it dropped a little bit. I don't know if anybody has answers to that.
I can answer the first part of your question. The number 200 that I referenced is just our elementary aged K through 6 immersion programs, but that's all of the immersion programs, which we have 8 of. As far as the other question, I'm going to have to defer to Crystalline or Doreen.
We are actively tracking numbers, and we are able to, provide more reporting. It just moves as families are moving. We do have a decrease of enrollment. We, of course, have our Alaska Native students, multicultural students, our multi-ethnicity students, and then we have our students registered in Title VI Indian education. So the fixed number we like to measure on is the Title VI, but we do look at the expanded multicultural, multi-ethnic, as many of us identify as that. But I will say, looking at the enrollment numbers for Indian education, I think we, at a benchmark level last year, there was a certain number, I think it was 74,000 students in Indian education, but we have over 8,000 Alaska Native students. And then looking at the numbers this week, we are at about 6,400 students enrolled in Indian education. But we are seeing an increase of enrollment as well as going into the virtual program.
This is Dorian. I'd like to expand on that just a little bit. So I just had Cassandra Westlake, who's our secretary that helps with 506 eligibility forms. And those numbers are actually lower. And working with migrant education and Indian education and the eligibility requirements from both of those programs, I'm seeing it as a trend across the board. It's very concerning. I actually talked with Cassandra, who's been gathering information from our staff and also from families and such. And here's some things that, some reasons why this is, and then I'm going to talk to you just a little bit about what I plan on doing about this. It is really hard right now. We're in COVID. If you have children, as most of you do, it's really hard. You're on Zoom all day. You're overwhelmed with emails. It's a struggle. I can say that it's a struggle. I can say that personally. I'm on my kid. I have one, and I'm on that all the time. And so there's other needs that I'm trying to address as well. And I think parents across the board are. And so when we're asking them to fill out this eligibility form, it feels a little overwhelming. And we're hearing that from families. It's like, can we get back to you? It's just not something that's pressing at the moment. We want them, of course, engaged in our programs, but sometimes this comes secondary or third or fourth down what's really important to our families right now and what they're really working with. So we hear that. And so they're really focused. A lot of our families that we're talking to are focused on getting those kids engaged in the schoolwork, getting their schoolwork done, getting on Zoom, getting their Apex courses done. I mean, there's a variety of reasons, but we have seen a decline in the eligibility. And again, I'm going to say that with migrant ed as well. So this weekend, I plan on drafting an email to the Office of Indian Education to let them know of those very reasons, those specific reasons of COVID. It's hard to get that signature. There's other things that are going on. So giving them a picture, and have they considered using counts from not last year, but the year before? It sounds like migrant ed is going to be able to do that. So I'd like to see if my Office of Indian Education is also going to be willing to do that. The counts are open. I think they open tomorrow. Part 2, I don't know what they're calling it now, part 1 or 2. So I think across the nation, they're going to be looking at that to see what the eligibility numbers are and other programs across the nation. But I have a feeling that they're going to have the same issues. It's just really hard. We did online registration. We have a fillable form right now, but it's something that's not even a secondary concern. I would say it's probably almost, it's a low level priority. We're trying to feed our kids. We're trying to get them through education systems, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm just being really honest with you. Crystal and the team have done an amazing job with trying to secure those eligibility forms. It is something that's near and dear. So just to let you know, one thing, continue our efforts here in Anchorage and with the team of staff with the office with Indian Ed. But the second part of that is I will be contacting Office of Indian Ed to let them know what we're finding. We're about last year, we started the school year with 500 less. So we had even last year's, X amount of months with COVID and not collecting any forms. We were really struggling. Hit the ground running this year. We're still behind. We started behind last year and we're going to continue to be behind. So just to let you know, we're at 6,402, which I think was, I can't even remember what the number was last year. I think we're about 500 eligibility forms less than last year. So I'm just giving you guys a heads up, and so stay tuned. Hopefully we'll hear more. I'm happy to email you and or give you guys an update next month.
Oyana, Ricky, you had your hand up for a comment or a question.
Thank you. It's just two things. One is appreciation. The other one is just a funny. First, thank you for holding the seats, because that really means a lot to the families. I know that I teach music at Rolkashula and also at Winterberry, which is another public charter that we have. So Winterberry students really devout the Waldorf curriculum, but some have chosen to go to neighborhood schools or to the online format, but they really appreciate us at Winterberry holding their seat too. So that's appreciation. Thank you for doing that for our language immersion programs. And second is the funny. In 2019, I attended the National Indian Ed Association Hill Day in DC, where we met with Sullivan, Murkowski, and Young. And a lot of times it's not really them, it's usually the staff. But we did meet Lisa that year. We met her both years. I went in 2020 also, along with many others, like Georgiana was there, Crystal and you were there. But it's when we get to go to DC and meet with them about NIEA initiatives. And 2 years ago, so 2019, language immersion programs were an initiative that NIEA wanted to promote. And so I gave a lot of accolades. I even visited Katie that year at your school in College Gate because I wanted to get to know the program so I could really talk it up and say, oh my gosh, we're doing such great things in Anchorage School District with the UPIC immersion program and everything. And Lisa Murkowski was smiling and nodding, and she took it really well. And then when she left the room, her staff person said, she helped secure the funding for the program, right? Oh, well, here I was telling her all about it and she already knew. But that's the funny. I just wanted to share that with you. Thank you.
Ricky, if I could just respond, I just want to say thank you to you for those kind words. And it was Senator Murkowski as well as Senator Al Franken from Minnesota. They were instrumental in Congress. And I had a similar situation where Lisa has visited our program. Her own children went through the Government Hill Romig West Spanish immersion programs. She's a very strong supporter. And Don Young is also a very strong supporter of native languages. But I visited with her staff a year ago, November, when I was in DC. And then her right-hand person actually called me on my cell when she found out that we got the grant this time and congratulated us, and which was awesome. And then when we were still able to fly, I actually ran into her to Senator Murkowski in the Seattle airport. We were on the same flight home, and she meets so many people. I don't think she remembered me, and it was an empty flight, and I was not in first class, but I got bumped up to first class or upgraded. So I was sitting right next to her. So I had 3 hours of one-on-one talking about this program specifically and about funding. So she probably was like, oh God, but that's my funny.
Thank you for sharing that. I also saw Begich in the airport when we were leaving, and I stopped, I expected him to know who I was for some reason. And he just kept walking. And in my head, I was like, how rude. Oh, wait, he can't possibly know everyone from Alaska.
Chairwoman Kimberly.
So my question is more towards Katie, then Brandon, but although Brandon can chime in, do you have plans on advertising and shareable stuff that we can do for the lottery that's coming up this spring? Because like we did our youngest in the lottery for Polaris already, so I know they're open, and I think the longer we can share things and the more we can share it, the better it would be. So what are your plans to like talk up the program to those incoming parents?
So what we've normally done, we had a family advocate with our first grant, and that the person that was in that position would call all our neighborhood kindergarten parents or anyone that came in, and she would ask if they were interested in enrolling in our program. And we got probably maybe last year, I think we got almost half of our kids from the neighborhood program. And usually we'll post something on our Facebook page, which I haven't done yet. Brandon sent me something, but I will get to that by the end of this week. And we'll post flyers and stuff like that. Usually our big push is in the fall when parents enroll their kids or enroll their kindergarten students.
Kimberly, I can also send Crystalline some PDFs and some JPEGs, because we, most of the things that we do print-wise and distribution of, we haven't necessarily done as much of because of COVID. So trying to do a lot of online stuff. I do have some stuff that's generic for all of our immersion programs, but we've also got a parent information night so that parents can make an informed decision about enrolling their children, because they don't necessarily always understand what immersion is and what it's not. And so we like to do that sort of open house prior to the first lottery so that they can make an informed decision. And we'll be doing that again. So I can send Crystalline the electronic stuff, and you're more than welcome to share it on your own social media or your own Facebook groups or things like that. And UPIC Immersion does have a Facebook page, so does ASD World Languages, and I maintain that and post a lot of stuff on that. So if you don't like it, you should, because you'll get a lot of information there too.
Georgiana.
Thank you guys so much for the information. Hi, Katie. Congratulations on the program. UPIC immersion programs are very near and dear to me. My son went through UPIC immersion in Bethel K through 6, and I also taught there for 9 years. And so it's just one of those things that means so much to so many parents, who went through language loss on their own, just multi-generations. And having this opportunity for students to learn their language is, it's something that, it's like makes your heart, just one of those feelings that, you can't explain. And, I still feel that stab in the heart when UPIC Immersion went to College Gate, something it's hard for me to forgive that one, number one. But number two, as the program is growing, going up through the grade levels, I know that Anchorage School District has not had any native language offerings in middle school or high school in years. I know that East High School used to have a Tlingit language program, and that was years and years and years ago. And so that's something that is much needed, in general, because, it's just something that's hard to come by. And the other thing that I know that Ricky was talking about this before was, growing your own language teachers. And just from my past experience in Bethel, when UPIC teachers are sometimes hard to come by, I'm sure, as you know. So what is the plan to make sure that you have the language teachers necessary to grow the program? Because I know that in LKSD, when certain schools lost their language teachers for whatever reason, they were hard to replace. So a lot of these positions went to support staff with the help of the districts to get them certificated. So I just want to have kind of a general idea of your plan to make sure that you have the language teachers as the program grows.
So I agree with everything that you just said completely. I will also say that Anchorage School District has made major headway with the State Department of Education. And I work very closely with our talent management, which is a fancy word for human resources department. We've met multiple times with the Department of Ed. They typically just say no to everything. And so, again, we are unique. We have all of these different immersion programs. And so looking at what other states are doing, I'm constantly giving them information about certification options and alternative pathways and things like that. I'll also tell you that one of our state representatives, Representative Christ Tompkins from Sitka, has I don't know the legal term for it. He has instituted a bill through the Senate and the House in Juneau, and I've testified multiple years on getting that in. That's specific to Alaska Native language and immersion certification pathways. It never went anywhere because you have to have so many votes in the House and the Senate, and then COVID happened. And so that's been a challenge, but I don't think that it's a done deal. And I'll also just put one more little plug out there. I know that the program is still very new at the K2 level, but I'm also working closely with the State Department of Ed to launch, and I'll touch base with Crystalline on this too, because it'd be great to have somebody from the NAC on this, but I'm working with DEED, the Department of Ed, to establish a statewide seal of biliteracy program. Alaska is one of 40, there are 40 states that have a state-approved seal, and Alaska is one of the 10 that don't. And that's why we created our own in-house in ASD. But I know that LKSD has followed suit with us, and there's definitely some interest out there in other districts. And so I want to make sure that the state of Alaska has one. What that is it recognizes a student's proficiency level in 2 or more languages at the time of high school graduation. It encourages early learning of languages and developing a high level of proficiency, and is being recognized by colleges and universities as well as by employers. So I'm hoping that will also be a carrot for continuing folks in their language education along the way.
So NAC, this would be a really good opportunity. Sounds like he's calling for advocacy for developing statewide native languages. So I guess I could help vessel the conversation. And if you're interested, definitely keep us in contact about that outreach. And before we let you all go for the UPIC program, I have a quick question. Speaking of teachers, are you recruiting for teachers for this next language grant, and what are the qualifications?
So we have actually year-round postings so that we are constantly recruiting. And so, yes, there is a posting already available online, and we are actively recruiting. The person needs to have an Alaska teacher certificate, and they have to be a native or near native speaker of the Yupik language. The state does have what they call a program enrollment option, which means that a person could apply for a certificate with the state even though they've not gone through a teacher prep program. The caveat is, unfortunately, they do have to have a bachelor's degree in something. But we have a bunch of teachers in our immersion programs that are going through this. What it means is that the state gives them a valid certificate. They can be employed by the school district and receive full salary and health benefits and all of that. But they would also be taking classes at the university along the way. And as long as they can prove that they are making progress, they can continue on that path. And this, I have asked multiple times, what does that mean, making progress? Because sometimes, like right now, I would not be able to be taking classes and teaching online. And they said, as long as you're taking 1 or 2 classes every semester, you're making progress. But if it goes, 2 years and you don't take a class, then that's not making progress. But the nice thing about it is that it does value and honor the skills that the person brings to the table. And again, they're paid full salary for their teaching, and and the state has these great online, UAS down in Southeast has a wonderful online program. The other thing I should point out, this is really important for anyone, maybe if you have family or friends in rural Alaska that might want to be moving to Anchorage, we do offer a $5,000 signing bonus for immersion teachers. It's a 2-year requirement or commitment, but we pay them $5,000 for accepting the position.
Wonderful. Thank you. We'll have to share that out and get the word out, because we want to make sure that we are getting the best teachers like we have here as part of the UPIC program for its success. So, Koyana, thank you so much.
Thank you for the invitation, and have a great night, everybody. If you have further questions, you have my email, or it's the ASD email, or I can work through Crystalline. Thank you. Have a great night.
Koyana.
Miss Starr, you should tell Sarah Lee and Miss Kaganak that we need 2 UPIC teachers.
No, I'm not going to tell them.
I'll tell them myself.
There was a teacher from Scammon Bay who was interested in, was asking about positions in Anchorage. So my question to you is that, does she have to have, is there somebody that could check for UPIC proficiency? Because I know that at Bethel, a lot of the teachers had UPIC proficiency done through UAF with WACI. So I'm not too sure if that's something that you guys do ahead of time.
I'm not sure. We didn't have to. So I can ask Brandon.
Okay.
You can have her email Brandon, and I'll ask him if there's a test or something.
Well, I'm pretty.
I'll send you in.
He's probably a fluent speaker, but I'm not too sure about teaching the reading and writing. That was just my question.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah.
I'll let her know though.
Okay. Oyana.
And Starr, this is Doreen. If she's welcome to call any of us, myself, Brandon, Katie, to get more information and to hear our sales pitches and our pleas to get somebody amazing to join our team. So the sooner that they can talk to us, the better. So if you can all help with getting that word out, we need to secure some dynamic teacher and teachers in the future as well. So anybody that can help with that. If you want, you can even send me that person's name.
I'll. She asked our SPED teacher because she is a SPED teacher right now, and so I'll have Peggy let her know to contact you.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Brianna, so exciting. So we're going to go ahead and move on to another part of ASD, one of our very hardworking people on our team is Angela Harvickson. And she has worked really hard to organize and win a grant for East High School. And so we wanted to have her share about the program. And I think we should be able to have you with sharing capabilities as a panelist. So whenever you're ready, Angela.
Unmute myself. Hi. exciting. It's so awesome to listen about the other things going on, especially when we may have a UPIC program in our future. It's wonderful. We're super excited about that possibility. I am going to share my screen with you guys. Maybe. Do it again. There it is. All right. And then if I go to presenter view, I found out I can do like this. Can you all see that? Rad. Okay. So this project kind of ended up coming about because we weren't sure what to do back in October. We had Heritage Month coming up, our usual activities we couldn't fundraise for, which made it a little more difficult to carry out. And so suddenly I started getting emails from, I love the resource basket. I think it's probably where I get a lot of really good leads on things. But Spirit of Youth has been around for quite some time, and they had a Youth Connection grant. Its goals were to make sure that youth felt like they mattered. It was to promote the respect and inclusion and use of the care line, as well as to build that adult youth connection that we were really missing on Zoom without having the students in the school. So Native Student Leadership at East has been around a while, and fortunately our students are extremely involved and resilient, and I honor them every day. Every time we meet, I give them lots of accolades because they are committed to attending every week. Thursdays at 1:30 via Zoom. There's 10 members. Most of them show up, and today they all showed up. It was pretty rad when they do that. They all came to our meeting. We have a president, a lead artist, and a grant youth representative. Her name is Genevieve Beans. Our vice president and secretary is Ermelina Gonzalez, and our treasurer is Jonathan Hamner. All three are seniors this year at East and have been involved over the years with Native leadership, and they were all elected into those positions. Our leadership program decide on the activities for the year for EWE, Elit Narvik within East, and they find out what kind of cultural activities they might want to do and invite students to. We find volunteer opportunities like Becca's Closet. We do a lot of fundraising. And when there are current issues to discuss, we are able to do that in a safe place and talk about how we can make change. It's been a great program. This was one of our screenshots for yearbook. Many of our members were there that day, which is awesome. So this grant was for $4,500. The email that I found and request was right around October 21st, and the deadline to apply was October 30th. I have never written a grant in my life. I don't think I've ever even opened one up. I was super intimidated, but it ended up being a Google form. And so you had to write it with like 200 words or less in each of the, so I got this, right? So we presented it to leadership. They were asked, what are 2 things that our school has done to make you feel like you mattered this school year? And they came back with a few things. Teachers have given us extra time to turn in assignments. That kind of surprised me, that a student would think that would mean that a teacher really cares or that the student matters. Kind of hit home for me there, different direction than what I expected. When teachers check in with students individually each morning, at the beginning of class, right now it's a little easier to do that on Zoom, to kind of just like focus on each student and give them their time. And so that's a big deal. For the kids that make it to school, it's a big deal. And then they said, when you deliver goodies to our home. And so I do that a lot. Ever since COVID hit, I have made sure our leadership students had cup noodles, had school supplies, that our other students have gotten school supplies through Indian Ed. And so being able to to go to their homes, see them, and give them goodies was a big deal. So our first grant proposal was reviewed by leadership, our principals, Ms. Scott, Mr. Nichols, Mr. Elook, and Mr. Vaughn. Mr. Elook's the other Indian Ed counselor at East, and Mr. Vaughn is, I think I spelled his name wrong, apologize for that, Migrant Ed, student success coach. He's a big part of our EWE team at East. We couldn't do this without him. So our initial grant submission was this, 400 Anchorage youth at East, and all the following: the Caroline Magnet and Note, the invitation to East activities with links, tiny lights, resource sheets, hot chocolate, pilot bread, fruit, hand warmers, cup of noodles, and other items, right? We had planned to enlist the assistance of East counselors and other staff taking care and delivering these boxes. It'll allow us to engage personally and genuinely, also provide supplies for non-native students to join. We'll talk about that in a little bit. And leadership members, a big part of this grant was honoring the students and the hard work they put in, which is really cool. So we were able to put some of that towards a banquet that we usually have at the end of the year. We came in number 5 out of 4, so we didn't win. But Ms. Zeman from Spirited Youth said, we have $2,750 left over. So I resubmitted for a grant for just Indian Ed students. And it involved all of the same things except the pilot bread was halved. So if you know pilot bread, Costco has the best price, right? $5.99. For 332 students, that's a significant amount of money. So we were going to half the pilot bread. But in times of COVID, that ended up being a challenge. We still were able to provide cultural supplies to 2 non-native students. And that's kind of been a big deal with the inclusion piece of this grant. We already have students that are inviting their friends to come. And this way we can provide them the supplies the same as their friends and learn a little bit more about specific Native cultural activities. This grant also allowed for cups of noodles for our meetings. Yay! A winter celebration, which was a lot of fun. I delivered a lot of little toys and food that the kids loved. And then our awards banquet for $300. And we were awarded it. So we were very thankful that we got this grant. The students voted on some names that we were able to identify with some help from Tatiana and her grandmother, Marilyn Beluda. They gave us a couple of names, and then we found some online, 2 that gave us the correct pronunciation, which was really helpful. And then the students decided on Chikyun. And if I'm pronouncing that right incorrectly, I apologize. There was a really great tool on, is it going to let me do this again? Let me go here so you guys can all see my desktop here. But I found this website, it's linguicious.net, and it gave me a pronunciation for Chikyun. I don't know if you can hear it. Chikyun. There we go, Chikyun. So these students all voted on that, which was really cool. And I did it verbally with the students because it's with everything on Zoom, it's very, very difficult to get them to speak up sometimes. So I do a lot of individual asking of questions of my leadership students, and they respond much better to that than group questions and just waiting for someone to reply. So we had 2 parts that are 3 parts that our leadership students were big, that we had required of them. The first part was, of course, the name. The second were artwork. And what we were hoping to do is use this artwork in the surveys that we give the students for the cultural activities. And this one was from Avesha Watson. She's one of our leadership students, and I just feel like she did an amazing job, put a lot of time into it. In fact, she wouldn't let me take it the first time because it wasn't good enough. And so she took it home and then made sure I could come pick it up from her. And then the last one was a letter. We wanted students and teachers to write letters to an EWE student. And I did give them some guidelines, but I had 8 beautiful letters that I was able to copy. That on top of a teacher who wrote 15 letters to individual Indian Ed students. And that was wonderful. That was really, really cool. So let's see if I can do this. Very cool. Can you guys see that? So if you see my video, I don't know if you can see it very good. I changed my screen. So this is what the cheek-cues look like. They come with a packet with a letter on the top. We did have allergy warnings, so we made sure to let the students know, but on a couple of occasions I substituted some items so that those who couldn't have peanuts, then we made sure they didn't have peanuts. And in these packets, they got this beautiful flyer for the activities coming up. We're going to make a guduk with this document camera. We did it first semester. It was awesome. We're going to do that February 3rd. And then fry bread is Wednesday, February 17th. We usually do that in honor of Elizabeth Peratrovich Day anyway. And so this will be a good time to do that. And then the last one is beading. And I hope Cheryl knows, just joking. We talked about it a little bit. She's going to have beading every Thursday at 2:30. Things change, and with COVID, everything changes. So everybody's been super flexible. If that changes, that's okay. My sister actually donated the color prints for this. So that was really nice because 330 color prints was pretty spendy. This is one of the letters that the teachers wrote to one of our students. They also get a spring quick tips from East. It talks about how to get a hold of your counselors, everything about lunch, free meals, and then about all of the offices at East. And then they all get an invitation to our third quarter community meeting, which is next Wednesday on the 27th. No stress in trying to get these out to all the students before then, but we can do it, right? So they all get a door prize coupon. This was really cool because we were talking about a resource list or resource sheet. Municipality of Anchorage puts these out, but then I heard about these. The school resource officers have an enormous number of these and give them out to everybody. And so we were able to commandeer several of them and put them in each one. And then thanks to Cheryl sharing this awesome resource, we did thank Mr. Don Starr for uploading these for use. And so we have 2 coloring pages in each one. And there's the student, yep, that's it for that. And then here's the items that went in there. So we've got the cup of noodles, the hand warmers. We have enough donations, and thanks to Migrant Ed and Indian Ed, we were able to secure 1 whole box of pilot bread for every Indian Ed student at East. Yay, that was the biggest deal because it's so expensive. So thank you so much, you guys. We didn't want to have to split them in times of COVID. It just didn't make sense. And then these bags. Indian Ed saved our lives with these beautiful bags. This is just one of them. The red canvas ones, and then the blue box ones ended up being a perfect size as well. The Native Justice Center at CITC also donated over 300 bags. They ended up being a little too small to fit all of our items in. So what we're doing is giving these beautiful, beautiful bags to every student as well. So let's see. If I go back to screen sharing, I'm almost done. Sorry, it's taken me a little longer. So here's some pictures. That's us shopping. Sarah's way back there, Ralph, and then me. That was only half the pilot bread. Maybe half. Here's students that came in, their first time back at East. I can tell you, it was a little traumatizing for some of them walking through the halls after not being there for so long. It was interesting, but once they got in there and they started loading, it was really fun. We got pizza for the students. Social distancing's hard. We're trying, we're learning. We're eating pizza, filling packets. Here's our room that we're using as a base. We have about, like I said, I think 250 bags completely full and ready to go. And there I am stuffing envelopes last night. And here's two of our happy students. Ralph is so smart. He thought about taking pictures. These are his pictures. That's John Hamner. He's our treasurer on the left. And we've actually distributed more than 25 bags. I would say probably about 45 bags now. Since students returned to school today, we were able to give those students at school their bag. We are also offering students and parents opportunity to pick up safely from East. I've already mapped out my 9th graders, got to do the 10th graders next, and have them all sorted by like section of Anchorage, like everybody in Mountain View. I've got like 50 in Mountain View. I'm just going to walk down Mountain View with these. No, I'm joking, but I'm so excited. I'm so excited. Many benefits to this. We get face-to-face outreach. We get to visit the students' neighborhoods. It involves many adults and youth. It involved our community. We get to collect 506 forms, update household members, because we're finding out there's students out there that are in the same household we didn't connect before. Update addresses and phone numbers and referral for other programs, especially the children in transition. I think their numbers are unusually low, and so we would like to help make sure our students are being served. The challenges I got to share. The half a bag of pilot bread was really concerning. We didn't know how we were going to make that happen. So again, thank you. We did expect to have more staff want to participate in deliveries. It's kind of fun. It's kind of cool to see the kids, but I understand there are the concerns and the safety and the amount of work our teachers and counselors are doing. It's a lot. We have received a lot of offers for assistance to deliver and assemble bags from parents, which is just really cool. They wanted to come in and help us, and we don't get that a lot. So a team member, one of our 4 recently moved positions, and we're losing her. And that's a big hit because she was going to help us get through this. But that's okay. Things happen, and I'm really happy for her. One of our online orders didn't go through the first time, and it was over Christmas break or winter break. That was a little stressful. Fresh fruit is challenging. Fortunately, I got a heads up to not purchase the entire fresh fruit items all at the same time. So our oranges are starting to get a little wrinkly. And then the challenges are students previously not identified are being identified when we deliver a bag. So that makes it a little harder to go back and kind of follow up, but that's okay. It's a good thing. It's a good challenge. Building hours. I went there tonight at 4:30 after the CITC symposium, and everything was shut down, tight. And yesterday I got in and stayed till 9. So I don't know what happened today. Nobody was there. Everybody was tired, like poor Katie. Everybody was exhausted. It was the first day back for so many students. So I think that was challenging. So tomorrow and Saturday and Sunday, we expect to be delivering like crazy. These are all the people that contributed to this and the organizations. Cook Inlet Native Justice Center, Chugach Electric, Doyon sent us 30 bags through the mail. They rock. Migrant Ed and Title VI for sure, last but not least. And then behind the scenes, all of these wonderful people. Ralph, Gavin, Julianne, doing all that shopping for us. Oh my goodness, Crystalline, thank you. Ronnie at East. That was embarrassing, a $1,500. I was trying to buy all those pilot breads and things. Went to go check out, my credit card was denied. Who knew I had a $500 limit? Okay, so Ronnie had to come down from East and purchase everything, and that was okay. And then Roger, he got us some candy. Sarah, she helped us compile the bags. Trudy Keller, she and Leslie Rawson delivered a bunch of bags for us. So we are very appreciative. That's it. I think I said 5 minutes, but I went longer.
Liana, Angela, for you and your hard work and your teammates' efforts. And I know you're in the middle of the distribution right now, right? So you're still, delivering to all the kiddos, and just hope you're safe out there. Make sure you're driving safe, and we're excited for them. So, Liana, for your hard work. NAC, this is a good time to inquire about East updates. Anything else? Any questions about the grant and the program?
I do want to let you know that we're about, we mimic the rest of the district. We're usually at about 340 at the very least for Alaska Native American Indian students, and right now we're at 320. So maybe even a little less, because I've been including the missing 506 forms lately, and we have about 20 of those. So this project will help with that too.
Good. Looks like Mr. Lind has a question or comment.
Oh, thank you. Not so much a question, but thank you, Angela, for the work that you do. When I'm hearing about the pilot bread, I'm like, yes, food there, it's very, very important. I know that we've heard from counselors in the past that it's not only a social lubricant for the students, but it's also a really basic need. Like sometimes that's the only thing that they've eaten all day. So thank you so much for making sure that it happens and for including the challenges. Because coming from both the rural district and now this one, when everyone reports, it's usually just the good stuff. So I really appreciate you including the challenges, because it really puts us in there too. Like, oh yeah, I could imagine with your debit card, because it's happened to us too. So it really puts us in your shoes. So I really appreciate you presenting the challenges too, and for putting everyone in there for the acknowledgements. Now that when I go out in public and I see these agencies, I know to support them too. So I really appreciate it.
Well, Guyana, and then also Guyana to Julianne, who is our major shopper of the year. A lot of our student distributions. Woo, I mean, we'll take a look at the budget real briefly, and the sum of the total of what she's been working through has been pretty amazing. So, Guyana, Julianne.
Thank you. And we have one more distribution left, and then we'll get it all out.
Wayana Tiku for sharing with us, Angela. I was really appreciative to see some interns being recognized within East. I'm excited to give a better shout out when I see them in the next couple days. Yay!
Very awesome. And I do want to say thanks, Shannon, for inviting me to the last Native Advisory Committee meeting. It's what had me come, and just I learned so much. It's been years since I've come, so thank you.
Well, you're welcome anytime, Angela. And we're also streaming live on YouTube, so you can always go back if you're busy or you miss a session. So thank you so much, and shout out to the East team as well. Okay, well, if we don't have any other questions for Angela, we pretty much have two major things to talk about. One is graduation, which has, Angela, you may want to listen in on this too. But we do have the senior graduation regalia, which is open from March 1 through April 15. I'll go ahead and show you a quick slide about that, and a good opportunity for everyone on the NAC to maybe give advice on the rollout of the regalia. So just a summary, Doreen and I have been talking and getting updated with secondary about the planning for graduation. And the plan is to have outdoor stadium type graduations in all the big 8 high schools. And so we'll be in style. No, hopefully we'll have good weather. All of the information is on the ASD website if you want to peg and save the dates. I'm sure many of you students already know your dates, but in case you're looking up ahead at various schools, you can take a look at those plans. But where we would like to share is this is now out on the website, and we will be sharing a special kind of senior edition from Title VI to get this out to kiddos. But March 1 through April 5 is the notification of regalia intent form, and that's an online process. You go ahead and you submit your intention of what cultural regalia you would like to adorn yourself with during your celebration. And I don't know if you students, seniors, have you been thinking about your regalia? Do you have any guidance, any tips, and or any concerns or suggestions? Ricky, go ahead.
Oh, thank you. I'll speak on behalf of Ms. Shea. Although she's not here because she's ill tonight, I know that she'll speak to wanting to adorn a headdress in lieu of a graduation cap, and see if there's any headway, making any progress on those requests to wear headdresses instead of caps.
That's a really good question and a dialogue that I know that we have been discussing for an advocacy point for wearing our traditional regalia and headdresses. And so I urge students to go through the notification process and show the pictures and show the intent. We are working with secondary on delineating what does that mean? What does that work out to be? I think the language, if you look online and you look at the ASD board policy, the language is more of adorn, not replace, right? So just to recap on probably the previous conversations that I know of probably that you will have happened as the NAC is the adornment versus replacement may be that issue that students may have upon notifying the intention for a headdress. And if you're not familiar with, let's say the Yupik headdresses with caribou, the headdresses are larger, and it is a significant regalia piece to be adorned on your head. So that process is leaning more towards caps, but that dialogue is continuing, especially as we get the notifications. Mm-hmm. Ricky, go ahead. You don't have to raise your hand.
Okay.
Oh, thank you. It's just in response to that. I'm glad you said it, because it could be something that the district could work with, because as it stands, graduates will now be able to adorn their customary graduation cap and gown with traditional objects of cultural significance or tribal regalia. And that being said, I'm wondering if there are students out there who would be inventive in maybe taking their graduation cap and folding the square top to a different shape so that it would accommodate a headdress. So I guess that's going to be my question for ASD is, will that be possible with the current language as it stands? Because if I were a student graduating, I would be asking the same question. Okay, thank you.
I was just going to bring up a point when I graduated from UAF I don't know if you can, yeah. My mom took my cap and she covered it with the same fabric that I wore on my kasbah. So I still had the cap, but it matched what I was wearing.
Thank you for sharing that. I loved it. Yeah.
Georgiana, could I ask how long that may take to to adorn a cap? I know we have multiple materials, we have multiple levels, but how forward thinking do you think students may, they're busy, they're studying, they're working. How soon do you think that, it may take to work on a cap?
It depends on how complicated they want it to be. Like I've seen the caps with the beaded edges. If you've seen the caps with the beaded fringe, you've seen the caps, with the beaded flowers up on top. So I think, it's going to be really dependent on how intricate they want it to be. And, it is time consuming. So I think that, if going back to Ricky's, piece, if they want to take their cap, still maintain the shape, decorate it with fur and stuff. I mean, if you want it to look good, it's going to take time.
Yeah, and if they have to prepare that before submitting, they won't know whether or not it'll be accepted. I feel that.
Can they submit a drawing of what they want to do, or does it have to be the actual specimen or the actual artifact?
So we were able to submit a picture of one we were going to try to use or do something similar to, and it was like that. Is it called the appliques? It was the beaded on the top of the, and the young lady had a family member doing it, but ended up running out of time. So it was if you're going to try to bead something, that needs to start planning a year in advance. I mean, a lot of our students don't even have their cap and gowns yet. That is a typical issue. And a lot of times we just kind of gather them up at the very end there.
Mm-hmm. And just as a reminder, Angela, this is Doreen, and to the NAC members, and we'll probably get this out to staff too, Crystalline, is that we ordered caps last year and the year before, so we have a number, and some of you already have those at the school. So what we do is we want to trade it out. So if you wanted to work on your cap now, you could actually contact our office, but we'll just ask you to trade when you do get your own cap and gown in the mail, that you trade your clean cap for the one that you're gonna take from us, so that we always have this never endings of supply, because we do recognize that it does take a long time, or can possibly take a long time to get those just right for this big occasion. So we'll make sure that we get that information out to community counselors as a reminder.
I just want to chime in really quickly. So, of all the strange places to learn pro beading tips, I actually saw a trick on TikTok, and we are currently working on testing that out. So I saw on TikTok they put a leather needle on the sewing machine and ran the edge of the cap through the sewing machine, so the holes were already there. And then it makes it easier to just whip stitch those beads. I can't say how long it took, but a couple inches was much faster with the holes pre-done that way. So I've been sort of collecting tips like that, and I'll be sharing those out to the community counselors as well.
Cheryl has really good ideas, so we'll make sure to have a special edition for you seniors and for the seniors to come, because I know a lot of us here probably are in the same boat. We weren't given this opportunity. It wasn't given to us. We didn't have this, and ASD being able to, your advocacy for all these students, and then working with ASD on this is pretty awesome. So we'll have more information about that, and we'll have more contact at the beginning of the year next year for next year's seniors. The earlier the better to get this all the projects started, because we do know everyone wants to look really good for graduation for their big day. So Liana, so we'll make sure to send this information out. And as for your question, just to make sure that answering your question, Georgiana, I don't think it's a bad idea to have if somebody knows that they're going to be spending a lot of time on a project and they're able to draw a sketch of what their intention is or get another picture example before you even start the endeavor, I think that may be a wise decision, especially if you're thinking it may not fall into the notification guidelines. So, it doesn't hurt to ask, especially if it's a meaningful thing for you to represent your cultural traditions on stage. So, Koyana. Okay. Doreen mentioned already about the 506 form digitally, so we don't have to go over that today. And we don't have too many updates on our financial report that we have provided to you. So we'll swim right through that, and then we'll have Cheryl talk about cultural programming and what is upcoming, especially with our adjustment to COVID. As you could see through Angela's project, and you saw all the pictures, it takes a lot of time to distribute items, and it takes a lot of, and teachers, this too, it takes a lot of effort to get things into the hands of students. And so some of the things that we'll update you on the financial report with has to do with distribution. So you'll be looking at, you've been provided for an NAC on the budget for this year's grant, and we are in line and on track. We are budgeting for a summer program. We're excited for that. We are going to have a summer program. Will it be modified? Yes. Will it be safe? Yes. But we are going to make sure to give you the save the dates and market that probably before the next NAC meeting. So we'll keep in contact with you as we're rolling things and rolling our timelines out. So you'll get a lot more notification and traffic from here on out. So that's good news. We have everything in line and accounted for. We're good at forward thinking and seeing what we'd like to spend on. We do have additional virtual tutoring. That's our added, our new thing for throughout the year because we aren't able to do in-person after-school programming. But Cheryl has amazing things that she's going to be working on. Before I move on, do you have any questions about the Title VI 2021 budget that is in front of you? Okay. Oh, Ricky, go ahead.
Oh, thank you. Across agencies that I've been working with the past year because of COVID-19, I'm wondering where you would say on our budget right here on this screen, which one has been like the most outstanding? Like, this is strange, like the strangest one compared to years past. And maybe that's more of a question for Doreen too, because I know this is your first year with us, Crystalline, in your position, but I just want to know which line item is like the weirdest.
Out-of-state travel, no out-of-state travel.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Transportation, but we'll still have summer transportation with our buses, so we wanted to kind of keep that one in there.
And even personnel is impacted because it's been really hard. We've had a lot of positions that haven't been filled, have been open. It's just been no one's applying. So although we are getting there, but we were almost 100%. We always say, knock on wood, we spoke too soon. We're going to have an opening up at East, but it'll take a while to get that filled. I don't know. It's just been really difficult to fulfill those positions.
Thank you for sharing that. I'm also wondering, it might not be related to this, but before when we were talking about recruiting educators for the immersion programs, what Brandon was saying about showing proof about continuing toward a teacher certificate, I think that's a type M, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because I have a friend in Dillingham who's doing the same thing. She started as the AA in the building, but she's the bilingual teacher right now. And she's taking average 1 or 2 classes per semester just to keep up that cert. And I think it is a type M. Sorry, tangent.
No, that's a good note. And teaching certs are a complex thing. So there's different types, and it's important that we talk about it, because for any upcoming teachers, especially in this Zoom, you do have to know that there's different levels of certification, and that language teachers do have a, is it a type B if I remember?
Teaching type B, yeah, and then principal is type A. I forgot what counselors have a different type.
Type C.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. We're counselors. Should be easier for me to remember.
Well, Juliana, okay. So just as a recap, we're on track. We have things happening. We're planning for summer camps. We want to help out where possible with our, credit recovery options, with a special like senior edition and actually high school edition. We'll be sharing out the opportunities that ASD and our partners are laying out for credit recovery supports, and where to go and what we can do to help. But the best avenue is the school that your students are enrolled in, and checking in with them. So we're doing pretty good. We're also very happy to share that a lot of our carryover funding that we got your guidance with, I know we updated everyone in November about the plan. And I gotta say, man, we have been spending a lot of money, and intentionally and with guidance for our students. And we're happy to share as well about literacy and the middle school Indigenous Native games through the ASD Physical Education Department. We are going to have just a recap from November as a reminder, and it's full in launch, and it should be concluding in about a month and a half. All of the middle schools should have their NYO kits and curriculum. And so we're pretty happy that that is up and running, and we shall celebrate when that is concluded. We have, again, Julianne had mentioned, we have one more distribution for our actual tangible things, and then we're planning right ahead then for summer program. So I really want to make sure that we have time to definitely share Cheryl's hard work with cultural programming, and a lot of it has to do with some of the things that we've spent our the carryover intention with your guidance. So thank you, Liana.
Crystalline, you can go ahead and skip to the next slide. So I'm super excited to share with you guys about the expansion of the ASD e-library that we've done. So I feel like we mentioned a little bit about it before, but we've actually purchased books and are seeing books being checked out. We have 2 new collections, and they're actually highlighted so that when students first log into Sora, which is the app that they use to access the ASD e-library, the first 2 collections that they see are the collections that we built in collaboration with the Library Services Department. And when I checked, when we came back from break, we made another big purchase. to add to those collections. And 2 days after we made those purchases, both sections were more than a third checked out. And many of those books had only been in the library for about 2 days. A huge interest that we're seeing is in the graphic novels that we purchased, which I kind of expected. And so we want to make sure that you guys know we're doing maintenance on that as well. So I'm monitoring how many books were placed on hold. And if a book has been placed on hold, we're purchasing an additional copy of it so that our students aren't waiting in line for those books. We have some guest speakers coming in. We've got one coming in next week that will be talking about NYO and potentially giving a little demonstration. We'll see what happens, if they could figure that out via Zoom or not. We have soap carving and soapstone carving that are coming up as well. There may be some additional carving coming up after that, but we've got to work out all the safety measures for those as well. Craft kits are still going out. And then we've got another guest speaker that we are finalizing plans for to come and speak for Elizabeth Pratt Rich Day. I have shared resources through the On the Radar to the district. And the Fighter and Velvet Gloves study guide is coming out. When I looked before, I thought it was going to be coming out next week, but looks like it's going to be made available the Monday before. So we will be looking at getting that as well.
We have shared in the Title VI newsletter the different programs for carving. So like for the younger intermediate students, it'll be with soap, and then for the upper grades, it'll be with soapstone. So there's different things that Cheryl is working on, and this is for like the district open programming, but we have a lot of staff that Cheryl's working with individual schools. And for the high school, do you want to talk about the beading?
Yes. So we're going to be starting that next week. The high school beading will be open from 2:30 to 3:30 I think I have it scheduled every week, at least through to spring break. And we'll just kind of reevaluate from there. If it's still working well, we'll continue to do that. And so it's basically about creating a space for students to come together. I don't want them to feel like they have to come and do a beading project. If they want to come and just chat, if they need supplies, they can let me know. And that flyer will go out next week as well.
Great, thank you. Does anybody, NEC, have any questions about cultural programming? I can unshare my screen so we can have a conversation if you want to give comments or feedback or things that you're looking into, or maybe some cool ideas that you've seen in the community.
I am wondering, Cheryl, you were mentioning that you're able to see how many students are participating in the ebooks. Does that break it out by like grades?
No, so I can see how many times the book has been checked out. I can't see who is checking it out, but I can see how many times it's been checked out. And if anyone has placed a hold on it, I can see that as well as how many times people have placed the hold. Because even if somebody's placed a hold, like they've put themselves in line to check out the book and then they've decided they didn't want to later, I can still see that. Julianne?
So we have it, and when you go in there, we have it broken down into kind of like grade levels. So you can see where, so if you go into the primary up through 8th grade or 6th grade, you can see how many of that, like Cheryl said, we can't see exactly, break it down per grades to see how they're checking it out. So we can see like the high school level, how many have checked out there, and elementary level, how many have checked out through there. So it is broken up into kind of like a general genre, like nonfiction, fiction, that type of stuff. So
I'm wondering, like, I asked Angela if she had seen these online sources that she could check out, because I feel like that's going to be an activity here soon, to listen to some of those audiobooks in the evening instead of turning on Netflix. So I am wondering, like, how well advertised it is for age ranges.
I can, do you?
I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I'm actually logged into it right now.
I was going to say we can share the Sora app if students should be somewhat familiar with this, because they can access it through Clever. But this is good for everyone to see. So you can go bother your, students K through 12 and say, look at these books.
So when students first log into Sora, this is what they see. So this is the first, we broke it up 7 through 12, and then K through 6 as well. And we are continuing to add to these, so these collections will still be changing. We've got librarians that are doing some research for us. And so any of these books that say place a hold right now, that means somebody currently has them checked out. And there may or may not be another person waiting for them. So,
and there's both types of books on there. You can have them either audio, like you were saying, or the student can read themselves the book.
Yeah, so if they have the headphones like this one does, that is an audiobook and it is currently checked out.
Ricky, did you go ahead and jump in?
Oh, sorry, I was looking for us. I was on the website, thesoraapp.com, and it automatically went to Anchorage School District, which is cool. But I was looking for my school. That's why it took a long time. Sorry. I'm wondering if, Cheryl, do you have like access to see top 10 or something? Like, what's the most popular book that's been checked out?
That is a good question. So I will work on pulling that. So when I don't know how to pull reports out of the system, but the director of library services may be able to pull that. I'm just not familiar with manipulating the data very well, because it's a separate system that we just started using right before break when we started making these purchases.
So we created the purchases, a lot of the selection, the librarians. There's a team of, I believe, 5 librarians, and they have been using a lot of different resources and their knowledge to choose the best literacy out there that would help with identity building and relating to student lives, and they've done a phenomenal job. And then we hit the launching point was a little bit before Christmas. So students can check out a book and it lasts for 2 weeks. And so unfortunately, a lot of our big purchases that we just did, we're in that 2-week window. So we don't have a lot of data. And hopefully over time, over a series of months, like 3 months, we'll be able to give you a listing of, our top 10 books, because we'll have more data points. It's fresh, it's new, and we have a lot of books.
So I am gonna show you what it looks like when you go to check out a book. If I am not mistaken, this book is currently checked out by my child. So it'll tell you, you can place a hold. You can actually look at a sample too, which I really like. I just realized you can see his ponytail or his braid. Hopefully this will not take forever to load. So this is actually a graphic novel.
The other cool piece about it too is that you can, I don't know if it happens with all the books, but on some of them, if you don't understand a word or you want the definition of a word, if you hover over it or click on it, it will give you the definition of that word. Some maps are also, if you click on it, it will bring the map up closer so they can see better. So this doesn't happen with all of the books, but it does happen with most of them. So it's pretty cool that way too. Excuse me.
I do want to just throw it out there that there is a lot of books that are Canadian published. We are trying to get as many Alaska specific authors as we can. One thing that we're running into is that unfortunately a lot of our authors in Alaska have published with smaller publishing companies, and the publishing company, we have to purchase through a specific platform. And so not all publishing companies make their content available on that platform. So some of the books that we've purchased in hand books for, we're not able to purchase in e-format.
So it is worth checking out. If you place a hold, you'll get notified that your books are available. And you can see how many people are in line ahead of you. So it is worth going into that. One reminder that we do have for families is though that you have to, once you check a book out, so you can free up that licenses, you have to return it. I know it's weird for digital. You have to return your digital book. And again, we're going to go through and note the more popular books that we know are going to be checked out and amp those numbers up. So the big launch was just selection. The second was the purchasing, and now we are going to reevaluate and stock up more so more students can read. Our Indigenous, it's not Indigenous inspired. We're talking about Indigenous authors, and we need more of them. Hint, hint.
And again, this has only been up for a month. So, and that's right before Christmas break.
So I'm looking at the time and we have 8 minutes remaining, and I know that everyone is busy. We have teachers and students here, parents, hardworking parents. So I just want to mention again, we have a Title VI newsletter that was shared by Cheryl on Blackboard via email. We have a lot of resources listed, including how to get and access the Sora app, as well as graduation information for seniors, and as well as the Barnes & Noble launch that we have starting next week. Part of our literacy efforts is to help provide books in hands to students. And we will be launching our K through 6 Barnes & Noble, 3 books per student and up to 600 students. So that will be updated and we'll have our a good report back for you then. You'll probably see a lot more communication with Title VI to NAC. We have a lot of things that are upcoming that need your involvement and guidance, as well as preparations for summer. So I know that all of our community members, but also NAC, looking ahead for elections, looking ahead for tribal consultation, public forum, summer, and then most excitingly, back to school for our secondary students. So there are 7 minutes remaining, so I'll go ahead and give the floor back to Kimberly or any members of the NAC for any comments, feedback, suggestions.
I know that the COVID vaccine, one of them is available for 16 and older. Has there been any talk from ASD about potentially letting high schoolers back in before fourth quarter? If I know that they're doing small groups right now, but letting groups of students come back if they've received the vaccine, as well as teachers. Has there been any talk about that?
I haven't heard anything about that. I do know, it is that plan for quarter 4 return. And there are a lot of small groups. All of our high schools pretty much are having small groups. A lot of our Title VI staff are involved in, either Wednesday special sessions and definitely the Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. So, we do have and they're not so small, when you're talking about 60 kids, that's a pretty large group, but it's all safely mitigated. But I haven't heard any dialogue about more students depending on the vaccine.
Unfortunately, what I heard is that it is due more to the bandwidth that the school can handle. If students are still Zooming, they are unable to do more than 100 students at the high school level if there's still students still online.
Shannon?
I am wondering if can we hear a little bit about some discussions about like COVID response from schools, has grading been, has it been adjusted? Is there a little bit more grace? And do we know any updated information from quarter 2? Because I feel like the last time we were looking at quarter 1, like stats. So
it's all went so fast. Quarter 2 went very fast. In reviewing the data, and this is not reported, but as the NAC, I can provide you with the information that I know we've compiled pertaining to our Native students with Indian Ed, and I would say the F data of our high school students. Were about the same as quarter 1, if not worse. And so credit recovery options for students is a really important topic, and we look forward to what ASD and many different programs are already planning with that. I know that we've been working a lot with CITC with their efforts as well, because they have different programs for credit recovery. On Monday, the school board shared data from elementary grades. And so spending some time with that information, there's a lot of work in regards to grading. I think philosophically, it really depends in a way on teachers and schools. But I do know that secondary was able to have extensions of grades and completed work at the end of each of the quarters. And going in line with that, I wouldn't be surprised if that continues on. There's like a 2-week extension period. So the data on Monday on the school board online, and I have so many things to email you. Anyways, I can tag in and forward that as well, is the PDF documentation of the elementary quarter 2 data. And that will also drive in the future what we're looking at next year. because we want all of our students to succeed, and we want to see what we can do to help them academically and culturally intertwined. So that's a really good question. I'll forward that on to you.
I kind of just am wondering, has there been better discussions across the board about if families have COVID or someone in their household has COVID, and kind of like, is there more of a kind of standard of communication between students, teachers?
That's a really good question. I know I haven't seen any specific policy of grades overall, but I'm wondering, for those of you teachers on the panel, say you do have a student and the student is out for a couple of weeks, what have you been actively, or what have you been told? You don't have to represent your school, but I'm sure you've talked about it, and I'm going to let Ricky go ahead and take this one.
Well, thank you. Like you were saying, every site is different. I'm at 2 charter schools. So what we have been told, and just know that this is new information because we just opened Rokaschule is the German immersion school that I'm at. We're K-8, and we have asynchronous Wednesdays, which means Wednesday the students will stay home and they'll attend their classes remotely. However, if a student is quarantining at home, right now it's similar to Fairbanks, where right now what's happening in Fairbanks is the students who are staying home are Zooming. And so my teacher friend, who I just called this afternoon, said the challenge there is there are students on Zoom who has questions. However, there's students in the room that also have questions. So they're having to serve both platforms at the same time. So that's what Rokaschule is planning to do. And Winterberry hasn't gone in person yet. They're opting to wait to see what happens in the Anchorage community statistics-wise, to see if is there any more spikes? Is the new type of COVID-19, the new transmission, the more infectious one, getting here yet? So Winterberry charter schools have an option to work with their governing board to make sure that maybe we should start or maybe we should hold back. So they could be more liberal with their start date than other schools. So just know that I'm officially between 2 schools now. Before I was only at 1 because of COVID, but now both my schools had an agreement where I'm actually really am split. One of my schools is face-to-face right now, the German immersion school. The other one is still remote. So what I'm hearing is that if someone gets COVID, then they'll have to Zoom in. And that's only at Rilke for now, because Winterberry hasn't gotten a plan yet.
Oh, Kimberly.
So I'm not a teacher, but when our family had COVID, we called the school, we talked to the nurse, and then we found out that there was no communication between the nurse and the teachers. And so my girls in high school and middle school had because they were Zooming at the time at the end of October, there was nothing given, no leniency given to them for, but one of them was asymptomatic. The other one was already not doing well in school. So, I don't think it played much of a difference in her grades, but there was no leniency really given. I don't know if we should have just asked for that more or not, but I was surprised when the teachers didn't know, even though we had talked to the office and the nurse the day we got their positive test results.
Just know that our nurses, and I'm representing only 2 nurses right now, the Rokaschule nurse and the Winterberry nurse. They already feel like they're in a sensitive situation because it's not only a HIPAA or a FERPA issue, but also a HIPAA issue because we're discussing other people's health and certain things just can't be shared. And so they're kind of painted in a corner, so to speak, regarding that. So it's really up to us to police ourselves. And that's really difficult to understand, especially personally. When I first had my first potential exposure, I had to do my own due diligence and stay at home for 10 days. And I was really tempted to go to the store, but I was like, well, it's really up to us to police this, because what happened was I went and got tested at ANMC, and the testing site said, okay, it's for a potential exposure. It's recommended that you quarantine 10 days regardless of the result, but it's just a recommendation. You could actually do whatever you want. And when they told me that, my jaw just dropped, because according to our statistics, people are out there doing whatever they want. But I just wanted to share that. It's really up to us to police ourselves. And it's scary at times because, you know, there's some people who are more strict than others.
And a lot of our community members are like that as well. You know, we have a history of pandemics and diseases within our communities. And so it is, you know, we're trying to be wise and watchful. We have a lot of students in our virtual. But to answer your question, I would say us as parents, as guardians, we are the ones who need to be reaching out to the principals, the nurses, and being really an activist for you know, that extension. We're in a pandemic. And so I would say reaching out to your school and being, you know, really frank with what your needs are, and requesting those extensions or exemptions is absolutely within your right for a request. So it is, reach out to your Indian Ed staff. You can reach out to our office if you need help with that advocacy for each school, because again, every single school is different.
Definitely tell a school nurse. Like, that is like the one. Like, if you can only reach out to one person, if your family has COVID-19, definitely tell the nurse. But when I was doing my quarantining process, I had to make sure that I emailed my building, because I was going there in and out beforehand just for materials, and I just wanted to keep them in the loop. That was just like convenience. Like, and this is just a convenience I'm providing you. I was tested recently for, you know, whatever. But yes, definitely tell the nurse.
Anna, thank you. Kimberly.
We did tell our nurse, and we did advocate for our middle schooler to possibly be put in a small group. And I think the first time I brought it up, Polaris was not going to do small groups with the secondary students. And they have 3 classrooms of secondary students back face-to-face today. So we're getting there.
I am really thinking about like our other family friends in the school district who don't have as much of support or advocacy or even comfortability to maybe even ask. I feel like schools know pretty well who can use a little bit extra assistance, but I don't know. I just feel that there could be a little bit more information or guidance. I mean, I feel like I can, if I see something across social media, I feel like I could start encouraging parents to like make sure to ask about extra leniency or whatever. But I'm just thinking of the other people in our community who just go through it.
So like maybe we could have like your child or your family is struggling with COVID-19. This is what you can do, or who you should contact at the school and what you can ask for. Like just a little like flyer or something that can be shared on social media and placed in like the Title VI and possibly the Migrant Ed, because the population's almost the same, where you feel like you shouldn't be asking for that kind of thing, and it just doesn't feel right to just do that on your own. But I know if there had been a flyer to look at, we would have asked for more.
Okay, that's a great idea. And I know that we briefly talked about it, but I don't know if I really delved into it, but we'll make sure to look and question and ask for those policies, or at least make sure that those steps of advocacy are shared. Because I know that you all are following the data too, and we know that our population of Alaska Native American Indians families are disproportionately affected by the pandemic. Even when we don't have COVID, we are still majorly affected in a lot of different ways. So very, very good insight. We'll work on that flyer, Liana. And I am also looking at the time, and many of you are having and ending a long day. And so without, I don't know if there's any other talking points. I'm not the one to conclude the session. I will be here until you all decide to dismiss.
Do we have any other talking points, or do we want to entertain a motion to adjourn? Ricky?
Oh, thank you. I'm part of a new initiative with our teachers union called the National Education Association Education Diversity Collective. It's difficult to remember because it's NEA EDC. So our goal as a working group is to figure out how to recruit and retain more diverse educators. And from Alaska on the team is myself and also Winter Marshall Allen, who's a special education teacher on the peninsula in Homer. So we're carrying with us experiences from both here in Anchorage and also me from Dillingham, and her. She taught at the North Slope Borough for some time. So she's familiar with our struggles too, and she's multiracial. So we have some also human civil rights things that we work on outside of the EDC. And we're heavily involved in the teachers union. So if you have any things you'd like to message me, go ahead and email me lind_ricky@asdk12.org, specifically regarding recruiting more teachers of color. And I'm really excited to be part of that team because as teachers of color, we know how important it is for us to be in the classroom.
Dorian, did you have anything else to add?
Just one more thing, just about the COVID piece. I think what we can do, well, I know what we can do as well is just to remind staff, if they're seeing kids out, they can reach out to the families and ask if they can assist to navigate the system of the makeup work or, liaison between home and school. Just making sure that they're just reaching out to those kids. And I'll just say that to families as well. You have advocacy or liaisons within our offices, which is Title VI, Indian Education. We have staff in many of the schools. Call our office or email anyone in our office. We'd be happy to help with that. Because I think what Ricky was saying, we really can't go around saying, hey, this kid has COVID or this family has COVID. We can't say that. It is a violation. It's a privacy issue. So, but we can look for those kids. And I know that we've been doing a good job with reaching out to kids that have been having a lot of absences, whether the parents share what the concern is or not. But we do a lot of outreach to those families, but we'll continue our efforts with that. But we can't, sometimes we miss people or we don't have staff at those schools. So our offices willing and able to help.
Thanks, everyone. Can I make a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'll second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing and hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any dissent? Seeing as the motion is passed, I call the NAC meeting for January 21st, 2021 closed at 8:13. Can we go off of YouTube?